What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson here. Going to kick off this morning's show with a Bulls Kings preview. The Bulls will host the Sacramento Kings at the United Center tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch that game in the broadcast on CHSN. The Kings, kind of looking at the Bulls' opponent here, come into this one 1-3 after a 107-101 defeat in Oklahoma City last night. This will be Zach LaVine's return to Chicago as well, and that is a big deal for probably him and his family. He spent a good chunk of his time here in Chicago, was a fan favorite for a while, and I wanted to kind of throw this into the show today. Vooch weighed in on Zach being back in front of the Chicago faithful, I should say, saying, quote, "I hope the Bulls give him the welcome he deserves. I think he gave a lot to the Bulls organization through the years. I know people criticized him at times, but I think it wasn't always fair. He always competed, played hard, and wanted to do right by the organization." I couldn't agree more with Vooch here. I'm kind of on the side of which, Zach LaVine was a fixture in terms of a fan favorite here for a while, but he was the center of what the Bulls were trying to do in terms of, this regime's kind of starting point as an organization. They brought in DeMar DeRozan, who will also be in Chicago as part of the Sacramento Kings. Playing his old team there. So two main Chicago Bulls, former players here are going to be playing in front of the United Center faithful. I hope that they get a warm welcome. I think Zach LaVine will. He was a big part of the fan base here for a while. Although towards the end, I know it kind of soured. I know Bulls fans wanted to move on from him. The winning wasn't necessarily there as much as Bulls fans would have liked. So, I think that overall you're going to see a nice warm welcome for Zach LaVine. Hopefully the Bulls can continue their hot start in this one. I kind of wanted to switch gears, give you guys a betting preview in this one. The Bulls, of no surprise here at 3-0, come in as a 4.5-point favorite. You can get the Bulls at minus 198 on the money line there. The total sits at 238.5. The Kings, if you wanted to play that side of things, are at plus 164. For the best bet in this one, I'm going to ride with the under again, guys. I think that obviously it went over the total in that Atlanta game. You saw the pace of things kind of kick up as we hit the mid to late third quarter there. And then the fourth quarter, there was a ton of scoring on both sides up until the end when things kind of became, stagnant there in terms of some strong defense. But I do lean under in this one. Sacramento, obviously, this is going to be the second of a back-to-back for them. They're coming off a low-scoring affair in Oklahoma City in that loss to the Thunder. I think that, the Bulls being that last contest being their sole one, going over this number in specific, I think that you can expect to see this thing dip under the total there. The under 238.5 hasn't been covered in 9 of the last 10 Kings games on the road. So that's just a betting nugget there. I would lean under in this one. That's my best bet for you guys for this segment there. Kind of dipping into something that really has carried the Bulls to this point. The Bulls have led the league in defensive rating. Now, this is of no surprise here. The Bulls were going to prioritize defense. We knew that really since the start of camp. The Bulls are tied with the league-leading defensive rating along with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the defending champions, guys. That's the standard. The Bulls are tied currently, sitting at that defensive rating mark with them. The things they've preached, and the Bulls have really been preaching these things since training camp. They're going out and doing them. I mean, they're being more physical. They're getting into the ball more. They're using their depth, and they're playing fast. These are all things that I've continued to emphasize in shows leading up to the season, throughout the preseason, and we're starting to see that come to fruition for this Bulls team as we kick into high gear here in the regular season. I just think that when you're looking at them being more physical, getting into the ball more, you're really seeing these things night in and night out. I mean, they didn't have the fastest start against Orlando, and they really pushed and leaned into those elements of their game to get back into that game. They kind of flipped a switch, really, coming out on top in Orlando there in that tough contest. So, that's a very strong strong way to start the season if you're the Bulls. That's really leaning into their identity, and it's something they can build off of, most importantly. Let's be honest here, guys. Nobody had this team starting 3-0, knowing the opponents that they had to start the year in the Pistons, the Magic, and the Hawks. I think Atlanta is, and I've talked about them in the offseason here, they're going to be one of the East stronger teams, and it's definitely something that you're going to be looking at in terms of a roster that's going to win some games in Atlanta there. So kind of making easy work of, easy work, I wouldn't say necessarily was easy, but making good work of those three opponents starting the year 3-0 is an awesome way to start if you're a Bulls fan. It's even more impressive in how the defensive side of things have had such a factor and has really carried things up to this point. They're finding ways to win at the end, albeit those slow starts like I just talked about there. So hopefully they can build off of that there. I expect them to come out strong. This is probably their most winnable game yet, and hopefully they can get this one done for the Bulls faithful and continue to move in the right direction there in a strong way to start this campaign. So wanted to wrap up today's show with a segment that I've dipped into and talked about this guy really dating back to the start of the show in May, because he is in a contract year. Obviously, he's nursing that injury right now, getting ramped up, getting ready to go. He was expected to miss 2 weeks to start the year, still expected to be on that timeline there. Bulls fans have to wonder, with such a strong start without Coby White in the fold, what does this signal at in terms of a future with the Chicago Bulls team? Chicago has proven early on that they can win with the depth that they have at guard. Most notably, newly extended Tre Jones has really filled that void. Tre Jones has looked very strong. I feel awesome about that signing. I really felt good about that signing from when it first happened. I just think he fits so well into Billy Donovan's system and what Billy wants to do at that position. In my eyes, though, this is personally, you guys let me know what you think, but I think Coby is a fixture in this lineup. Although he's not irreplaceable, I think that there are guys who could fill the void of Coby White if he were not to be here in the future. But Coby White has been such a star player, coming off really his best season as a Chicago Bull. I'm sure many Bulls fans will agree in both facets, really, that he is one of the stronger players on this roster, but he's also not a guy that's irreplaceable, a guy you won't be able to recover from if he's not in the lineup night in and night out. Overall, I'm excited to get him back at some point and see his contributions to this roster. I think at this moment in time, it's only going to make this team stronger, but it'll be interesting to see how that kind of, generates the thoughts of this front office moving forward if the Bulls are able to do well and continue to do well in his absence, and it shows. So if we've learned anything about this group to this point, it's the fact that they thrive on playing together. You have Audasumu talking about that most notably after that win against Atlanta. You have Vooch talking about it in his multiple double-doubles to start the year. Those guys are really thriving off of playing in a team environment and playing as a unit, and you're seeing that. And I think the depth is really the strength of this organization right now. It's strength in numbers, to be honest with you. So, selfish basketball is not something that's found in any part of this roster. The Bulls will look to start 4-0 tonight for the first time in nearly 28 years. So super exciting moment for this franchise. They were, 4-0 long, just before I was even alive. So hopefully the Bulls can get to that mark and keep things rolling here. It's exciting times for the Chicago Bulls roster. Yeah, we got a long season ahead of us, but couldn't have asked for a better start. Let me know what you guys think in specific about the Coby White thing. What are your best bets tonight in Bulls Kings? Do you expect the Bulls to keep on rolling? Again, this is one of their more winnable games to start the year, so I predict a W in this one. I think the Bulls will hit that 4-0 mark ahead of their Friday NBA Cup group play matchup against the New York Knicks at the United Center. So let's keep things rolling. I want to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest today, and we will catch you guys next time.